G'day YouTube, QuietPenguin here, back for some more matchup analysis with my Handlock deck. So today we're up against Shaman and we're on the draw. This is game 1, guys. There'll be a second game after this. So don't forget to keep watching for that second game. And here we're actually going to mulligan the whole lot. We're looking for the early game stuff, so we're looking for Twilight Drakes, Mountain Giants, Ancient Watchers, and generally a Wrath effect, or an AoE. So something like either a 1 copy of Hellfire or 2 copies of Shadow Flame. Right, so here we've drawn pretty well. Lord Draxus isn't great, but Ancient Watcher, Mountain Giant, and Twilight Drake are all excellent in this matchup. And we draw a Zombie Chow, so I'm just going to chuck that guy out there. Remember, guys, we're on the draw here, so we can play out our Zombie Chow and still play our Mountain Giant on turn 4 if we go life tap, life tap. And here on turn 2 he just summons a totem, which we're super happy with. So here we can just life tap and kill off his totem. So generally the less that Shaman does in the early game, the better it is for you. You just need to be careful of the amount of burst damage that they can do. So most Shaman lists that I've seen play 2 Rockbiter Weapon, 2 Lightning Bolt, 2 Crackle, and then 1 to 2 Lava Burst as well. So that's a fair bit of burn, guys. That's actually more burn damage than like even Mech Mage plays. Even my Mech Mage list, with Leroy Jenkins doesn't play like quite that much burn. So you really need to respect it in this matchup. But here we can just life tap again, kill something, and I'll just triple check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yep. So we're not going to overdraw next turn. So we don't need to coin play anything here. And this game's going really well for us. So this is either like Arcane Nullifier or like Piloted Shredder. Let's have a look. What's he going to do? So most Shaman decks that you're going to play against, yep, so it's a Piloted Shredder, are generally either a Mech Shaman list playing all that burn, or they're a combo Shaman list. Similar to sort of what Crip was playing a little while back. They're playing sort of the Reincarnates, that kind of thing, with a lot of Death Rattle effects. But here we're just going to play out our Mountain Giant, our Giant 8/8, hit him in the face for 2, and pass the turn. So there's no point using the coin in there. So playing Ancient Watcher doesn't really do anything, even though we can Ironbeak Owl at next turn. And similarly, we don't really need to taunt anything up on this board. We could have taunted up just the Giant if we wanted to save our Zombie Chow, but it's not really worth it. Alright, so he decides to go face with the Shredder and summon a totem, which we're A-OK with. And Hex. Okay. Alright, so that's 1 Giant down, sad face. But still many more to come. Alright, so here we can just play out a Twilight Drake. We're going to play it on this side. Positioning, guys, is also quite important with this deck, simply because you're playing cards like Defender of Argus and Sun Fury Protector. And then we're just going to kill off that totem. And pass the turn back to him and see what he can do. Alright. So I'm glad to get rid of 1 Hex early. Generally the only removal Shaman will play besides the burn is 2 copies of Hex. And then of course the Fire Elementals. Alrighty. Alright, so here we've got a pretty easy start to the turn. We can just hit off the Twilight Drake and Mortal Coil to kill it. Which is a pretty good start to the turn, I'd say. And then we could like Hellfire here, but he's going to end up with the board, which we don't really want. And we can get more value out of this later on. So we're just going to play a second Twilight Drake and pass the turn. Alright, so generally, guys, in the mid-game, you don't spend as much time life tapping just because your life total's starting to get a bit more precious and you really want to be impacting the board. Alright, so here he just kills it off and he gets, oh, that's disgusting, he gets a Whirling Zap-O-Matic. So a lot of the Mech Shaman lists are actually playing 2 copies of Zap-O-Matic to begin with. So getting that's really good for him. And he was able to play an Earthshock in our Twilight Drake, which is excellent for him. Earthshock is a card worth playing around, but not a lot of Shamans are playing it at the moment. But it is insane against Twilight Drake, as you saw there. It just gets to kill it for free. Alrighty. So what are we going to do here? So we definitely need to deal with the Whirling Zap-O-Matic. It's just whether we want to deal with the Shredder this turn or not. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So it's possible that next turn we're going to want to coin out Jaraxxus. So we need to be mindful of that. And probably our best play here is just to Dark Bomb the Whirling Zap-O-Matic, play out an Ancient Watcher, and taunt it up. That gives us a little bit of a board presence, and next turn if we do want to play out the Jaraxxus, we can hit Sludge Belcher and then finish it off with the Sun Fury Protector. Or if he decides to come into the Ancient Watcher, we're pretty happy with that way too. So we'll have to see how he plays here. He might be more of a sort of a mid-range Shaman list. Shaman's not particularly popular on the ladder, which means that a lot of people tend to brew with it. There's not a really solid list out there besides the Mech Shaman list. But that makes it far more interesting to play against overall, I think. Okay, so he just smacks it there. And so here it is a pretty good turn for us to Lord Jaraxxus. It's pretty unlikely he's going to be able to kill us next turn. Although he definitely could with the spell damage totem out, if he just got a good roll on 2 Crackles, or a Crackle and a Lava Burst. So we just really need to sort of have a look here and see what else we can do. If we play the Lord Jaraxxus, it does sort of strand the Molten Giant in our hand as well, which is kind of iffy. But we need to look at the play that gives us the biggest chance to win the game here. So if we're not going to play Lord Jaraxxus, we're probably going to be doing a Hellfire, which is an okay play, but certainly not fantastic. But that's actually the play I'm going to go with. I'm going to life tap first to see what we draw. Okay, so we draw a Mountain Giant, which is a pretty good draw. It might actually change our plays. I think we're actually going to play the Mountain Giant out now. And here there's not really much point protecting, giving taunt to just the Mountain Giant here, I don't think. We're not in a lot of danger from 17. He'd need to Crackle plus Lava Burst, and if he has that, then he has it. We're probably going to die to that at some stage anyway. So there's not a lot of point playing around it. We could play the Iron Beak Owl on the Sludge, but I don't think that's really worth it either. So we're just going to pass there. So next turn, if his board gets out of control, we've got the Shadow Flame. Otherwise, we've got Lord Jaraxxus here. I'd really like him to play out 1 or 2 more cards so that we can get a nice Hellfire going here. And that's probably enough for us to Hellfire. It gets us down into range a little bit more of the Molten Giant too, which is nice. Yep, so here we'll just start off by Hellfiring. We get some heal off this Zombie Chow too as well, so we're actually not that close to the Molten Giant. From 22 we can pretty safely tap here. We don't really want to play out Antique Healbot or anything. And we're just going to pass here. We don't have any excellent plays. We're on 20, so we're pretty unlikely to die from here, so it's a pretty safe time to pass. Hopefully he's starting to run out of gas over there. If he doesn't play too much this turn, we really want to try and get this Lord Jaraxxus down if we can. Alright, another Sludge Belcher. It's not too bad. Not ideal though. Alright, then he plays a Healing Totem. Alright, Sludge Belcher is a pretty good draw. It gives us Antique Healbot plus Belcher next turn potentially. Here I just want to take this opportunity to play the Molten Giant. It's probably the best turn that we're going to get to play it, considering we've just drawn a big heal recently, and we really want to try and get Jaraxxus down as an ASAP. And hopefully this will try and draw some of that burn out of his hand. If we can get rid of that burn, then we'll definitely feel a lot safer playing Lord Jaraxxus. And if he doesn't deal with it, we can start to take over the board. So yeah, we're in a pretty decent position here. I mean, he can hit us down to 15 and then do something crazy like Crackle, Lava Burst. But I mean, we're probably going to lose to that series of plays anyway. So we'll just have to see what he does. Alright, so he starts off with a Flame Tongue Totem, which is pretty gross. Thankfully he trades it all in though, which is fantastic for us. And let's see, hopefully adds another card to the board. No, doesn't. Oh, wait, we might get something here. Kezan Mystic. Alright, perfect. So this is a good turn for us to Shadow Flame. It's just what we want to Shadow Flame that's the problem. And I think we want to Shadow Flame the Sludge Belcher. Reason for that, probably our 2 choices here are either Sludge or Antique Healbot. And we really don't want to waste this heal if we're going to avoid it, considering we've got this Lord Jaraxxus sitting here. We're going to want to be able to heal him a few times if we can. Although then again, our next turn after that's probably Schneed's Old Shredder, and we're just leaving Lord Jaraxxus on the bench for a little while. So yeah, I actually don't mind. On second thoughts, I'm going to play the heal bot and Shadow Flame that. That leaves us in an excellent position here. The fact that he added the Kezan Mystic to the board means he's probably starting to run out of gas and decided that his only way to win was by overextending, which is really, really good for us. Okay, so here he just plays a Loatheb, which we're A-okay with, and the Feral Spirit, which we're less okay with, but still fine. So that's 9 damage on board there, so it's not really that much. We're okay with that. We can handle it. So here we're just going to play out a Schneed's Old Shredder. And now it's just a matter of whether or not we want to taunt it up, or whether we want to save the Sun and Fury Protector for a later turn with Lord Jaraxxus. As you can see, guys, there's a ton of options every turn with this deck. It's not the easiest deck in the world to play, but once you practice with it for a while, you tend to get a lot better with it really quickly. We don't really need to draw here. Our hand's pretty good. We've already got enough options as it is. So here I think I'm just going to play out the Zombie Chow and pass. I'm happy if he does if he kills this in any way. Like if he runs the Loatheb into it, we're completely okay with that. Because then we can just Dark Bomb to finish it off. And otherwise we should be able to punch through a couple of minions next turn at least. Yeah, so playing it here means that next turn, if he just ignores it and decides to go face, we can kill off one taunt, Dark Bomb the other, and then start attacking those totems to keep them off the board. So against Shaman, I really like to keep their board as clear as possible at all times, just to make sure that their Bloodlusts and those kind of crazy combos are as hard to pull off as possible. Alright, so here he attacks us for the full 9, which is pretty good for us. Hopefully we can try and get some of this burn out of his hand here, but he's been holding on to some cards for a while, which means he's most likely got it. Alrighty, so Siphon Soul's not a bad draw here either. We're just going to start off by killing that. We're going to Dark Bomb one of these. Kill this last one. And now we're it's an option between playing a Sludge Belcher or Siphon Souling the Loatheb. And here I'm pretty happy just playing Sludge Belcher. If he attacks the Sludge with the Loatheb, then we can finish it off with our Zombie Chow. And we'd like to try and save this for something better. Either, say, Alakir or like Dr. Boom, something like that. And now that we're starting to get more of a board, we're getting safer and safer to play Lord Jaraxxus. He hopefully has to start spending some of that burn that he's been saving. Instead, he just plays a Sylvanas, which thankfully we've got the Ironbeak Owl for. And he's able to heal out of range, which is pretty annoying. Alright, so here we're just going to silence Sylvanas. And then I think we're going to Siphon Soul Sylvanas, run these two into the Loatheb. So we're going to kill off that. Finish off the Loatheb. And then kill Sylvanas. Alright, and we're sitting pretty here, guys. So he's still probably been holding onto these 3 cards here forever. So again, they're most likely the burn, some combination of crackles and stuff like that. So I don't know, we're really trying to get him to waste them here if we can, but he doesn't seem to be too compliant, which is fair enough. We're not really pressuring him enough, although here's one of them. Okay, so he was just saving an anti-kill bot, which we're A-okay with. Right, we draw a Molten Giant, which is a pretty good turn for us. We're happy to just slam that down. We'll kill off the Taunt and the Fury and pass the turn. So normally I like getting, depending on which matchup you're playing in, some matchups like the more controlling ones you want to get Lord Jaraxxus out ASAP, but against these sort of decks you really don't want to do it unless you have to. Alright, Neptulon, so he's just refueled with a ton of Murlocs here, so thankfully we've got this Shadow Flame. Alright, and he's just playing out some dudes. And some more dudes to go with those other dudes, and dude. Okay. So we've drawn another antique heal bot, which isn't too bad. I'm just trying to look and see if we can Lord Jaraxxus this turn. Doesn't really look like we can too easily. So here we're probably going to need to clear the Neptulon with our Molten Giant, which isn't the best. Our other option is just Shadow Flaming the Molten Giant to just wipe his board. But I have a feeling we're going to want this for the other Murlocs he's got. So he's got 2 Murlocs in hand, 2 cards that he's held forever, and then 1 other card, which is this one here. So what I'm actually going to do, I'm going to run the Ironbeak Owl into there, so it's at 5. Attack his face with the Shredder, and then I'm going to Shadow Flame. That way we can sort of keep this board presence. He's used both his hexes, so it's pretty unlikely he has an answer for this Molten Giant. Oh, guys, we're living the dream. Kel'Thuzad off Schneed's old Shredder. Alright, it doesn't get any better than that, guys. We're going to play out the Antique Heal Bot, heal up, and pass the turn. Alright, guys, so that was an excellent Schneed's old Shredder there. And it's one of the reasons I played in the deck. I mean, some of the hits that you can get are absolutely insane. The last couple of times I've got the guy who spawns Lepinomes whenever your opponent's creatures dies. And he's been really, really insane as well. So even though you can get stuff like Lorewalker Cho, like Nat Pagal, like Blood Mage Valnos, he's still really, really worth playing, guys. He's just a really sticky minion, and occasionally he just wins a game for you, like he did there. So thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you guys in Game 2. Okay, guys, back here for Game 2. So for Game 2, I've got B and Oracle back in the hot seat today. I was having a bit of trouble finding another Shaman player on the ladder, so I brought him in. So he's playing like a bit of a different Shaman list than what we saw in Game 1. And instead of playing all the mechs and stuff, he's playing a lot of Death Rattle minions, stuff like Haunted Creeper and Harvest Golem. So it's a lot more similar to sort of the Shaman list that we were seeing pre-GVG. Although, of course, he's updated it now, so it's got stuff like Piloted Shredders and whatnot. So here we're on the play, and we're really happy with this hand. So we've got an early piece of removal, an AoE effect, and something to activate the AoE. So it's pretty important in this matchup to have the early AoE effect, just because he generally tries to swarm the board early and get that face damage in, and then finish us off with like Burn or like a Doomhammer plus Rockbiter weapon turn, something along those lines. So here we're just going to life tap and pass. Next turn we're probably just going to play out the Ancient Watcher so that we can Shadow Flame. Although it does depend on what he does. If he just does... Okay, so he's just doing Totem, so it's not that big of a threat really. So we can probably afford to life tap again here. Yep, so we're going to life tap and then we'll be able to play out that Zombie Chow, which is a pretty good draw. Hellfire was also an excellent draw here as well. It means that we will have an AoE effect earlier than turn 6, considering we'll need to have that Ancient Watcher out first in order to play the Shadow Flame. Okay, so here he just plays up Feral Spirit, which isn't too bad for us. So we can just kill that off. And here I think we're pretty happy to just wait a turn. We can use the Hellfire to clear these off. We don't need to do anything crazy like Dark Bomb. We are going to life tap once here. The reason I say once is we probably don't want to life tap too much more in this matchup just because of how much reach he plays. So similar to the mech lists, I believe he's playing something like 2 Rockbiter weapons, a couple of Lightning Bolts, a couple of Crackles, and then maybe like 1 Lava Burst. Something along those lines, which would be pretty gross. So here we can either just play the Sludge Belcher or the Hellfire, and I'm actually going to go with the Sludge Belcher. 1, it's slightly more mana efficient, and 2, we really want to try and get like 1 or 2 more cards out of this if we can. So we'll just play the Sludge Belcher here and pass. Let's see what he has. So he's doing a pretty good job here of not overextending into any of the AoE effects. As you can see, he's still got a ton of cards in hand. Yeah, so we're going to have to see what he does. He could do something like Doomhammer, but it's not amazing here. It's far more likely that he just adds to the board and passes the turn. So he lets the Healing Totem heal these guys up. Not that like the difference between 2 and 3 health is pretty marginal in this matchup, to be honest. Alright, so he's got a crackle. Hopefully he rolls a 4 here. 6, alright. That's a pretty decent crackle, and then he gets to go face here for 2. But looks like this might be a zombie chow. Alright, coin. Coin into Flame Tongue Totem. In the wrong place. That's not the, like, he should have attacked our 1/2 slime with this one so that he could play the totem there, but it's not too big of a mistake. He did miss 2 damage, so be worth noting, guys, that if we do die on like 2 and we didn't do anything like Draxus or something, then he would have actually won this game. So it'll be interesting to keep track. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We probably don't want to life tap here after the Hellfire anyway, just because we're starting to get a little bit low. So we'll just Hellfire and play out an Ancient Watcher. And so we're not looking too good here, but he just has so much burst damage. Like, just being able to do something like Doom Hammer and Rockbiter Weapon means he can kind of hit us for 10 just out of nowhere, which is pretty disgusting. Alright, so here's a pretty good turn to just do something like Twilight Drake and Sun Fury Protector. So even if he has like the Earth Shock for our Twilight Drake, he's still going to need to go through the Ancient Watcher. So let's see what he has. Alright, what is it? It looks like, yep, so he's got the Earth Shock to kill off the Twilight Drake. But again, he's just still going to need to go through this Ancient Watcher, so we're not too unhappy to see that there. There are worse cards he could have had. So it'll be interesting to see how he spends the rest of his mana here. Looks like, okay, so he has to waste a Hex on that, which is pretty good for us. So here we're probably just going to Dark Bomb, sorry, and hit in to kill off the Azure Drake and then just play a Sludge. Yep, and pass the turn. Right, so we're really looking for some giants now. Lord Draxus might be decent here, or like a Schneeds or something. We really need something to start turning this game around so we can stop playing defensively and start attacking him. Because the longer we give him, the more time he has to do his crazy combos like the Doom Hammer plus Rockbiter Weapon, or like Alec here plus Rockbiter Weapon, that kind of stuff. So we really don't want to give a Shaman too much time. They just have so much reach. Alright, so he just plays a double piloted Shredder here, which is pretty decent. Because we draw the second Shadow Flame here, I'm probably pretty happy to just Shadow Flame away his board and see what he gets. I am going to life tap first because we've got a heal in our hand already. So this is a pretty good draw, but I feel like we kind of... So it's possible there that we should have life tapped first because we might have wanted to just hit one of these with our Sludge Belcher. So I feel we're pretty committed to this play to just kill off his board. We can kill off one of the things that he gets with a Dark Bomb, but hopefully he doesn't get anything too ridiculous. Which he doesn't. Alright, so we'll just kill off the Swordsmith here and pass the turn. A 1/1's not particularly threatening. So next turn we can do something like Life Tap plus Sun Fury plus Mountain Giant. Although we are starting to get a bit low here, so we might not want to Life Tap too much more. We've got the Siphon Solo for his Fire Elemental, so that's pretty good. Alright, so Molten Giant's pretty sweet here as well. That means that we can Life Tap down to 12. Play out a Molten Giant. And then kill this off to heal back up to 15. That's a pretty solid turn here for us. Alrighty. Yeah, so he's got the big game hunter there, which is pretty annoying. And an Argent Commander, which is also pretty annoying. And he's managed to get us down to 10 here, which is pretty bad for us. So we could play Schneeds, we could play Mountain Giant, and we're probably going to need to taunt up whatever we play. Here I feel like our best play is just Schneeds and taunting it up. We kind of have to hope here that he doesn't have anything for a turn, and he needs to send his dudes into here. If he does have anything too crazy, we're probably going to lose this game. Yeah, so he's able to hex us here. So there's not really a lot we could have done there. Like, we could have played, like, heal bot and taunted it up there, but it's just not really going to do that much. We need to try and make some of these riskier plays here in order to try and win. And, yeah, it's pretty difficult to win against a Shaman if they're able to get that early damage in and you can't really taunt up. So we just weren't able to protect ourselves well enough there. But as you can see, guys, in Game 1, the matchup's definitely winnable. It's probably a little bit in the Shaman's favour, to be honest. They just have enough burn that they can get there. So thanks for watching, guys. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.